Hello, welcome. So today we're going to be looking at r/True Off My Chest. So if you want to hear some of the confessions off the interwebs today, then please do stick around and enjoy. And don't forget to like and subscribe, please. Thank you. Okay, what have we got first then? Let's have a little look. Let's make that a whole lot bigger because someone scratched the lens on her glasses, and now reading things makes my eyes want to bleed.
Now, I'm going to give you a content warning for these stories today. There is a lot of talk of medical issues and serious surgical complications and what have you. And I understand that can be a touchy subject for some people. So if that sounds like something that you cannot handle listening to today, then that is absolutely fine. There are so many other videos on the channel to look for, or you could even go look for something else on YouTube. So I bet you'll find something that will tickle your pickle today. But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. It will be heavy. So yeah, just make sure to take care of yourself.
So this one was posted by Rarely Ordinary Co. I died on my sister's birthday and I don't know how I can celebrate her birthday for the rest of our lives. Yes, you read that right. I, 24F, was pronounced clinically dead for 12 minutes on my sister's birthday. 22F last year. A week before her birthday, I had a surgery to remove a blood clot in my renal vein, which was unsuccessful. I was told I needed to redo my renal vein transposition, remove the vein and replace it with a pig artery. To prevent getting a blood clot or further collapse of my vein, they decided to add a stent as well. I was hospitalised in the special care unit on a heparin drip with severe gastroparesis until they could schedule the surgery. Do you know, I find it so fascinating the stuff that they can do with surgery now. So I'm a little weirdo and I like watching surgeries being done, not from like a, ooh, lovely, this gets me goat kind of thing, in a more like, I don't know why I said that like that, but in a kind of like, this is really friggin' interesting to me kind of thing. Still can't watch horror films though with a lot of blood and gore in. Can't watch any horror films actually. I don't know why I said that because I'm lying. I can't watch any. But anyway, weird, backwards, I know. But I really like to watch surgeries, and there's one on Prime at the moment, and it's like Surgeon at the Edge of Life or something like that. There's like 5 seasons. One of the seasons you can't watch because they lost the licensing agreement for it apparently, and that right pissed me off. But we're not going to get into it. I don't want to get myself all worked up. And I was watching the other day and they were doing a transplant of an aorta. Someone had an aneurysm of the aorta. So this person's aorta had ballooned up, real bad, not good. And it was on the verge of rupturing. And what they do, they've got like these tubes. They don't even have to use like an organ donation or like something like that. They just make these synthetic tubes, these synthetic aortas. And I think they're made out of like, did it say polyester or something? It was some very regular material that gets like embedded with this gel that makes the body then sort of like grow tissue on it, to incorporate it and what have you. And they just chop out the bit of damaged aorta and they put that in, and Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, you got a brand new aorta and you're not gonna die. And I think that's amazing. I can't imagine how the hell people come up with this stuff, but I'm very glad they do. I just think it's crazy. It's so fascinating to me. Anyway, we literally have got on the first paragraph and I've already gone on a tangent, sorry. Waffling at its best. I was told the surgery day and asked if we could do it a different day because it was my sister's birthday. She is my best friend and I didn't want to ruin her birthday. You can probably guess from the title of this post that my request obviously didn't go through. So we prepared for the surgery. I called my sister the morning of my surgery to wish her a happy birthday. We had a good cry and she told me that everything was going to be okay because nothing bad could happen to me on her birthday. We went through all the possible complications and I signed the consent forms from the surgery. There was such a small chance of vein rupture that I wasn't concerned about the possibility, but I was obviously within the less than 1%. The surgery was going well so far. The surgeon successfully removed the portion of my vein with the solidified blood clot and sutured a pig artery in its place. The next step in the procedure was to deploy the stent into the freshly transposed vein. In stenting procedures, the stent is attached to a balloon and catheter. The balloon is slowly expanded to deploy the stent. As the stent was deployed in my vein suddenly ruptured at the suture site. The surgeon clamped both sides of the vein to stop the bleeding, but I had already lost most of the blood in my body. My stats were dropping, my heart stopped. I did not have a heartbeat for 12 minutes. I was clinically dead for 12 minutes. 12 minutes of CPR. At 10 minutes, the head surgeon told the resident that I wasn't going to make it. But this resident had never lost a patient before, and we had actually become quite close as I researched vascular diseases for my career. Those extra 2 minutes saved my life. I received multiple blood transfusions and was on dozens of machines. Once I was stable, they life-flighted me to the nearest trauma hospital. I was given 4 hours to live. 4 hours. My parents and husband had the chance to say goodbye to me before I got on the helicopter. My mum had to call both of my sisters so they could say goodbye over the phone. My sister was celebrating her birthday with a few friends in her apartment when she got the phone call. It absolutely destroyed her, screaming and vomiting from the horror. After I was life-flighted, it took them 6 hours to stabilise me. I was immediately put on a ventilator, life support, and multiple drips because my lungs, heart, kidneys, liver, bladder, and brain were not functioning. I was put in a medical coma. While they were trying to control the rest of the bleeding in my open abdomen, they found a tear in my bowel from one of my previous surgeries, requiring me to have another surgery once I was stable. Once I was stable, they told my family I would most likely not make it through the night. My parents had to figure out how to get both of my sisters to my city, as we all live in different states. My sister got there the next day and it absolutely destroyed her to see me connected to all the machines. She said I was so swollen, barely recognisable, and cold like death to the touch. I remained unconscious for 7 days. I was mentally awake on day 5. I was stuck in my brain without physically being able to wake up. I could hear my family talking to me, the nurses calling my name, my husband playing my favourite music, my sister playing me my favourite comfort movies. When I finally woke up, I was so scared that I had all these tubes in my mouth, nose, arms, and feet. I was put in restraints for 6 days. During this time, the staples that closed my abdomen tore open, leaving my organs, muscles, and entire insides exposed. My poor husband, mum, and sister saw this gruesome sight. They left me open for 53 days. Oh my goodness. Doing wet to dry packing twice a day until I was put on a wound vac and eventually having a surgical closure. I had to undergo 10 surgeries during this time. I was on a ventilator for 12 days. I failed multiple breathing trials before I was finally able to come off the ventilator. The ventilator actually damaged my vocal cords and I could barely speak for 2 months. Because of this, I couldn't communicate, so my sister helped me by getting a whiteboard, and that's how we talked for weeks. The first thing I wrote to her was, "I love you." It was all I wanted her to know. That I was here and that I loved her with my whole being. I was in the ICU for 14 days before I was moved to the wound care unit. I had to learn how to talk, swallow, eat, sit up, walk, use my left arm, use the stairs, basically function like a normal person. I was on a feeding tube for 62 days. I was bedridden for 6 weeks. I was in the hospital for a total of 70 days. My sister was there every single day, 14 hours a day, never leaving my side. She would bring her iPad so we could watch movies to distract me from my pain and trauma. She would wash my face, brush and braid my hair, put aloe on my skin when it burned. I was in a constant lupus flare-up from all the physical trauma. After I released from the hospital, she stayed with me at my house and took care of me every single day. She helped me shower, eat, get dressed, do my physical therapy exercises. She was there for me on my hardest days when the PTSD was so bad I didn't want to be here anymore. She took me to all of my follow-up appointments and multiple ER trips. She was my rock and still is. Even though she's back home, we talk every single day. Honestly, OP, it sounds like you went through so much. That is insane. I am so sorry to hear you went through so much and your family had to go through so much too. Like, I imagine that sort of thing sticks with you forever, honestly. Bless her. Like, that's just awful. The problem is, I died on her birthday. The most traumatic day of my life was on a day I loved celebrating with her. And now I don't know how I will be able to celebrate her without reliving the trauma of what I went through. I feel so guilty because she is my best friend and I have so much love for her. We are both so young and I don't want this to be like this. We're both obviously in therapy, but this is the first year since this happened, and I don't know how to celebrate her while also protecting my mental health. I think this is one of those situations where you just need to sit down with your sister and be very honest with the way you're feeling about everything. It sounds like the sister is very much in OP's side, fighting OP's corner every step of the way. And I honestly think if the OP just turned around to the sister and was very open and just poured out all of this, or even handed her the phone and said, read this, like, I want you to read this because I can't say it. I honestly think the sister would understand and help the OP find a way to get through this, you know, because this is obviously, like the OP says, the first time that they're celebrating after this happened. It's the first time, the first year. Everything's going to feel so much worse. And I imagine as the years go on, that trauma will lessen. It won't go away, obviously, but it will lessen and they will find ways to deal with it. But right now, it's like brand new territory, isn't it? This is the first time that it's like I hate to use the phrasing of 1 year anniversary because it sounds like a celebration about the OP like having this trauma, but that's not what I mean. You know what I mean? But it's like the 1 year anniversary of this horrific event. So yeah, everything is going to feel very fresh, very uncertain, very scary. And the best thing to do in that time is lean on the people that you know you can do, that have been there for you this whole time. I don't think the sister's going to mind if the OP says, look, I don't know how to celebrate with you this year. I think the sister would totally understand. It sounds like she just wants the best for the OP, honestly. But yeah, what an awful situation to be in. Edit, I'm not really sure how to do an edit or update, so hopefully this is okay. I've read every single comment and cannot thank you all enough for your input. It was especially helpful to read comments from those who've had similar experiences. The fact of me being clinically dead was obviously a shock, but not surprising. I have 14 medical conditions, 5 of them being rare diseases, one of them being vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Okay, yeah, so that makes a lot of sense then for what the OP has gone through, especially with the perforated bowel as well. I do wonder if that's connected too. Making my veins especially fragile, explaining why my vein ruptured so easily during stenting. I know multiple people were concerned about this, but I am in therapy twice a week and also on call for emergent PTSD episodes. I am currently on a waitlist for a medical trauma trained psychologist, but generally counselling has been very helpful. I'm slowly getting back into my hobbies and daily life as I am still physically recovering. 7-month estimated recovery time, and I do wonder if that recovery time is slightly larger for the poor OP because of the fact that they have so many medical conditions as well, because I know obviously that makes things really drag on when you have other medical conditions. Even something like a common cold can have you down for weeks. I had a long phone call with my sister and a good cry after going through all of the comments. We talked about how we both feel about the day, which our feelings are very mutual, and that was another thing I was going to say. I probably would imagine that the sister also is not quite sure how to celebrate because it was an extremely traumatic time for her as well. I explained how a lot of you all suggested reframing the day as my rebirth day. Like a phoenix, as a couple people said, the day I was saved from unimaginable odds. Since this is the first year, I'm sure it will be the hardest, but we are both trying to shift our perspectives. We talked about doing a celebration on a different day this year, but I still plan on sending her flowers and a coffee on her actual birthday. But I won't have to be physically present and fake being okay on that actual day. We will see how this year goes and adjust for the following years as we continue to heal and grow together. Honestly though, all that matters is that we are able to live out our lives together. We also brought up the idea of creating a bucket list together. We brainstormed a bunch of ideas in both of our current states and our home states to do when we visit each other so we can maximise our time together and continue to make memories, because I didn't fight for my life to be depressed or silent. Thanks, Reddit, for your advice and comments. Exactly. Like, it's going to be tough. The first few years after something so traumatic is gonna be so tough. But things get easier. I don't think I've ever had anything this traumatic happen to me in my life, of course. But I've had pretty what to me felt like traumatic things, and all I can say from my perspective on that is that the first few years afterwards were the worst. And with time, things get better. But yeah, obviously, OP's situation is hell of a lot more extreme. So I'm not going to sit here and downplay that and pretend like I know, because I absolutely don't. I don't know how that would feel. All I can say is I'm so glad that the sister and the OP are on the same page. I did think that the sister would be so understanding, after all the help and all of the things she's done to get OP back on track. I highly doubt that she's going to be like, actually, do you know what? No. I knew she was going to be like, no, it's fine. And actually, I feel very much the same at the moment. So yeah, I'm really glad that they had that discussion. I think that's probably helped the OP a lot, just getting that off their chest and being open about the way they're feeling around the day. So, down in the comments, Unlucky Assist 9416 says, I would reframe it. You didn't die, you came back to life. You can celebrate with her for every additional year that you were alive and should be dead. And then the OP says, this is a great way of looking at it. I think that outlook will come with healing. Yeah, it definitely will. Okay, so I think we've got time for one more today. That was quite a long one, and I wanted to make sure we gave it the time it deserved for sure. So, we've got time for one more today. So this one was posted by Rainy Days, and it says, he thought he walked away from a car accident. 4 days later, he was in hemorrhagic shock. Okay, so another medical one, my goodness. I did not plan this, by the way. This is just how I've apparently saved them, because I don't always save them all on the same day. I'll kind of save ones that I'm like, oh, that looks like it would be interesting to read. I'll save that for another day kind of thing. So I haven't actually done that on purpose. That is just a very odd coincidence. Hey everyone, my partner asked if I would post this on his behalf. He doesn't use Reddit much. I'm not usually the kind of person to post something like this, but the last month has been pretty wild, and I feel like sharing what happened. Late January, I was driving really far for a job, about 80 miles. I'm an electrical contractor. What stings is how close I was to the house. I was nearly there, and another driver turned across my lane and hit me directly on the driver's side at highway speed. Oh my goodness. I tried, but there was no avoiding it. The airbags deployed, my car spun off the road into a ditch, then into the concrete base of a light pole. Even with airbags, my head hit the windshield hard enough to crack it. That's not good. Yeah, if you crack a windshield, by the way, if you are inside a car and crack the windshield because your head's hit it, or you crack a windshield when you've been hit by a car, not a good sign. Not a good sign. If you see someone get knocked over and there is like a cobweb where the head has hit the windscreen and cracked it, they need to be seen very quickly, because it could be that they have, a very life-threatening fracture of the skull, because it takes a pretty decent amount of force to do that. At the time, I thought I'd gotten incredibly lucky. I had a gash on my forehead and was definitely shaken up, but otherwise felt mostly okay. Went to urgent care. They found some possible microfractures in my spine, but nothing seemed that immediately life-threatening. 4 days later, I realised the accident wasn't actually over. I was home when I suddenly started feeling extremely nauseous and weak. My partner got me a 3-gallon bucket thinking I might throw up. She then ran to the store real quick. I did throw up. The room was dark, so I didn't realise what was in the bucket. It was blood, a lot of it. When my partner got home, she immediately knew something was very wrong. I tried to stand up to get to the bathroom and passed out at the doorway, hitting my head on the doorframe and crashing into our dog's metal bowl stand hard enough to dent it with my ribs. When I came to, I started vomiting blood again. By the time paramedics came, my partner said that the bucket was nearly a third full. Oh, goodness me. The paramedics rushed me to the ER, where things moved extremely fast. I was given multiple transfusions, ultimately 6 units, and rushed into an emergency endoscopic procedure. I was completely sedated for the procedure and for a while after it. My family said that they ended up having to restrain my arms to the bed. Even heavily sedated, I was still trying to pull my breathing tube out. Do you know what? My mum tells me this story all the time about when I was little. I had to have my tonsils taken out because I kept getting repeated tonsillitis constantly, like all the time. I also had my adenoids taken out as well, which, by the way, I called them androids for most of my childhood life because that's what I thought they were called. Anyway, so they took out my tonsils, blah, 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 went home, all's fine and dandy. One night I'm brushing my teeth and I cough. I think it was about 2 nights after the surgery, or 3, somewhere around there. I coughed and then started hemorrhaging from where they'd done the surgery. So then I had to go back into the hospital, and all I remember was being pinned down. My mum said it took 6 staff to pin me down so that they could obviously get an IV line in. And then I don't know what happened after that. I don't remember anything after that. I do remember refusing to eat anything, though, after I was finally sorted properly for like 3 days. They were trying to bribe me with all sorts, and I was like, no, I'm not doing it. In my defense, it hurt. I don't remember that it hurt. I just know that it did. I don't know why. I don't remember the pain. I just know it really hurt. Anyway, back to the post. This isn't about me. Shut up, Void. Jesus. Come to find out, I had 6 ruptured blood vessels and had been bleeding internally since the accident. I spent 3 days in the ICU and some more days in the hospital after that. One of the doctors, very earnestly, told my family that I was minutes away from dying. Guess who doesn't know her Roman numerals? Apparently it's 4, so class 4 hemorrhagic shock. I haven't even got an excuse. I don't know what to tell you. The most severe level of blood loss according to the ER doc. I had lost over 50% of my total blood volume. Now I'm dealing with the aftermath and focusing on recovery, which is going to take some time. I run a small electrical business by myself, so not being able to do physical work for a while has been the hardest part of all of this. All while having to deal with all kinds of red tape, including the other driver's insurance company. More than anything, the whole experience has been a pretty sobering reminder that serious internal injuries can show up days after a crash, even if you think you walked away from it. If you're ever in an accident, really pay attention to your body in the days afterwards. I'm incredibly lucky to still be here. I definitely didn't realise how close I came to not being here, and it's given me a much deeper appreciation for life. Thanks for reading, and stay safe out there. So down in the comments, Kelaniq, I'm really glad he's still here. Walked away accidents can be so deceptive, and the vomiting blood days later is genuinely nightmare fuel, honestly, yeah. Also, huge respect to his partner for clocking it and calling help fast. That probably saved his life. If anyone reading this has been in a bad crash, don't tough it out at home. New weakness, dizziness, fainting, stomach pain, vomiting, especially blood, or black tarry stools is straight up ER territory. So the OP then says, "Thank you. It was very scary. I had run out very briefly to get a couple of things from the store, and I can't help but be relieved I wasn't gone long. It would have been so awful if I lost him because of a loaf of bread." Honestly, yeah, I'm so glad that didn't happen, because I can't imagine how much the poor OP would have tortured themselves over that one. So yeah, I'm glad that the fella caught it in the nick of time by the sounds of it and got seen and, has made it through. My goodness. I hope that you aren't going to all be left with a ton of medical anxiety now after this one. I do apologise. Stories like that are so important to share though, aren't they? Because it really does highlight that you can think that you're okay after something like that has happened, and actually something could be going on under the water that you don't see, Okay, so I think that's all we've got time for today. If you made it all the way to the end with me, I appreciate you very, very much. If you give a little like, subscribe, notifications on, that is your initiation into the Coven of Void. Welcome. Don't forget to leave your offering of a comment to Big Al. I don't know what you can comment today. Something nice, how about that? Something nice to calm us all down from our medical anxiety. How about that? Whatever it is you're doing for the day, I hope you have a really good rest of the day. Goodbye.